Okay, I'm going to finish up now with lecture 19, and it's going to be a very short lecture. Basically, what I'm going to be considering is Pascal's wager. Pascal is spelled Pascal. Blaise Pascal lived from 1623 to 1662. And what he does in his wager is he offers us a reason for believing in God's existence that appeals neither to reason or empirical evidence. In fact, his reason for believing in God's existence is offered even if one concedes that God's existence is unlikely. He offers an entirely practical reason to believe in God. The practical reason is based entirely on self-interest. The wager holds that you have more to gain by believing in God's existence than by not believing in God's existence, because you will get an eternal reward. Also, you have more to lose by not believing in God's existence than by believing in God's existence, because you get eternal punishment. Notice that Pascal is offering a motive for believing in God and not a proof for believing in God. So here's Pascal's wager. You should write it down because it could appear on your final exam. And it goes like this. Write it down now. If God exists, I have everything to gain and nothing to lose by believing in his existence. So that was point number one of the argument. Number two, but if God does not exist, by believing in his existence. Number three, if I don't believe in God's existence, but God does exist, then I have nothing to gain and everything to lose by believing in his non-existence. Okay, here it is again. Number one, if God exists, I have everything to gain and nothing to lose by believing in his existence. Number two, but if God does not exist, I have nothing to lose by believing in his existence. Number three, if I don't believe in God's existence, but God does exist, then I have nothing to gain and everything to lose by believing in his non-existence. Now, if you notice that this argument, if you want to call it an argument, is considered from the aspect of infinity alone. You get an eternal reward if God exists and you believe in God. You get an eternal punishment if it turns out that God exists and you didn't believe in God. So this is just from the aspect of eternity or infinity. But suppose in this life that an atheist tends to be more happy than a theist, and the theist is comparably unhappy. But if there's still a chance that God exists, you still get a similar result. So although you're an atheist and you believe that God doesn't exist, you might have more happiness in this life, if that's true. You might have more happiness in this life. But if you die, or when you die, and you go up before God, then you're going to get eternal punishment. So eternity is longer than this duration of a lifetime. And so it still pays to bet on believing in God. So that's basically the argument. And some people believe this argument and are persuaded by it. I've met some people like that, and every once in a while you hear people say some version of this argument. But there are some objections to Pascal's wagers that has been offered over the years. First of all, is it really possible to believe in the existence of something entirely out of self-interest? If someone offered me $10,000 to genuinely believe that it's nighttime during the day, could I really believe it because of the reward? It doesn't seem as though belief works that way. Isn't an affirmation of something based entirely on the possibility of reward just a form of pretending to believe? There must be some degree of reasons or evidence as the basis of a belief, it seems. Secondly, Pascal's wager doesn't tell us which God to believe in. There are about 2,000 deities that people believe in the world today. So how does this wager tell me which deity to believe in? The logic of the wager could be applied to each of them. Suppose you worship the Hindu goddess Kali, and Kali exists. Well, if that's the case, when you die, you might get an infinite reward. But suppose Kali exists and you believe in Allah, and when you die, you go before Kali, and Kali gives you infinite punishment. Or suppose you worship Allah, and it turns out that after death, Kali is the goddess that rules the universe. Then you might conceivably get infinite punishment. But if it turns out that you were right, and Allah exists, then of course you would get infinite reward. So you don't know which God you should choose to apply this logic to. It applies to all of them. And it doesn't help you differentiate among the gods and goddesses which one you should believe. Thirdly, the wager arguably attributes to God the value of preferring false or put-on belief over honest inquiry. Is God really a being that prefers hypocrisy over honesty? I'll close with a quote from a man by the name of Richard Carrier, who wrote a book called The End of Pascal's Wager, Only Non-Theists Go to Heaven. This is what he said. Quote, Suppose there is a God who is watching us and choosing which souls of the deceased to bring to heaven. And this God really does want only the morally good to populate heaven. He will probably select from only those who made a significant and responsible effort to discover the truth. Therefore, only such people can be sufficiently moral and trustworthy to deserve a place in heaven, unless God wishes to fill heaven with the morally lazy, irresponsible, or untrustworthy. End of quote. Thank you.